My name is Jennifer Bryanson, and I will be discussing conflict resolution methods. Conflict occurs when there is a struggle between two or more people to get their needs fulfilled. There are many ways to resolve conflict, and in this presentation we will look at a few of these conflict resolution methods. One way to resolve conflict is using a win-lose situation. In this way, one person gets what they want while the other person doesn't. In situations like this, there is an either-or conflict, where if one person wins, the other person cannot have their needs met. A key to the win-lose conflict is power, because in the end, the one with the most power will win the conflict and have their needs fulfilled. This power can take many forms, such as physical power, mental power like wit, and power through threats. While most situations do not require a win-lose conflict resolution method, there are some situations where this is necessary. One such situation is when there are limited resources, such as when two people are trying to get the same job. Obviously, only one person can win the job and the other person has to lose. Another situation is when the other person refuses to come to a compromise. A final situation is if you are trying to stop bad behavior and you cannot come to a compromise without other people getting hurt. An example of this situation is incarceration. Both people can't win, and either the offender will succeed in gaining his freedom, or the judge will succeed in putting him in jail. In this case, in order to protect other people, you cannot compromise on his incarceration. Another method for conflict resolution is lose-lose. As the name implies, both people in this conflict lose and neither have their needs satisfied. Although this seems like the worst way to handle a conflict, it is fairly common. In situations like this, both people strive to have their needs met and refuse to bend, which results in neither of them being content with the outcome. An example of this would be if a couple got into a disagreement which escalated to the point where they ended up ending their relationship. In this case, both have lost and neither are happy with the result of the situation. If involved in a conflict, you can also choose to compromise. With this method, both parties search for a solution which meets some of their needs but not all of them. In this way, both parties can be partially satisfied. An example of this would be if two people in a relationship are arguing about whether to go to a movie or go to a friend's party. If they decide to go dancing instead, they would be compromising because they will both be happy and have some needs met, while neither would have all of their original needs fulfilled. Compromises can be positive, such as in this situation where both people will enjoy the night dancing, but others can be negative, such as sharing custody of a child. In joint custody situations, parents have compromised so the child can spend time with both parents, but this means that each of them will have a certain amount of time where they are not with their child. The final method of conflict resolution is win-win. In this method, you search to find a solution where the needs of all parties involved are met. An example of this would be if you wanted to take a vacation near the ocean, so you could go whale watching, and your partner wanted to take a trip near a golf course. And to make sure everyone was happy with the results, you went to Vancouver and stayed at a resort that had a golf course on the premises. This way you can go whale watching one day in the Pacific Ocean, and the next day you could play golf at the resort with your partner. Although win-win situations seem ideal, they are not always possible. It takes more time to think of win-win situations that work for you because this type of solution will have to be unique to every situation and unique to the people involved. Therefore, it requires more imagination to come up with a win-win solution. Sometimes it may be more appropriate to not use a win-win situation, such as when the other person is wrong and giving the other person their needs will result in harm. In conclusion, not all conflict resolution methods work in all situations. Even those which seem ideal, such as the win-win method or the compromise method, are not always the best methods. Different situations call for different techniques to be used. Even the win-lose method, where one person has none of their needs met, has its uses in certain situations. The only method which is never a positive technique to use is the lose-lose method. However, all others have their uses, and with a little thought and practice, we can all become better at determining which technique to use to gain the most in both the short term and long term, and to resolve the conflict in the most appropriate manner.